Everyone tells you to invest. Your parents say it, the internet says it, every finance influencer with a ring light and a whiteboard says it. Start investing now. The earlier the better. Time in the market beats timing the market. And they're right. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Investing before you're actually ready can set you back further than not investing at all. Pulling money out of the market at the wrong time. Taking on debt to cover emergencies because your cash is locked in stocks. Panic selling at the bottom because you invested money you couldn't afford to lose. These are real mistakes made by real people who were told to invest before they were ready. So today, we're going to answer the question properly. Not should you invest, because yes, eventually, absolutely. But are you ready to invest right now? 7 signs, a real checklist. Let's find out together. Welcome, where we explain investing concepts in a simple way. Quick note before we dive in. This video does not contain any financial advice. Everything we cover today is purely educational, so you can make the best decision for yourself. All right, sign number 1. Here's the honest truth about investing readiness. Most people approach it like jumping into a swimming pool. They stand at the edge, nervous, unsure, and someone behind them says, "Just jump," so they jump. And some of them land perfectly, but a lot of them belly flop. Not because the pool is bad, because they weren't ready to jump. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't start putting up walls before you've laid the foundation. Not because walls are bad, but because walls without foundation collapse. Investing is the same. The market rewards people who come prepared. It punishes, sometimes severely, people who come before the foundation is in place. So today, we're building that foundation together. 7 signs that tell you, clearly, specifically, that you are genuinely ready to put your money to work. Let's break it down. Sign number 1. You have an emergency fund, 150. This is the single most important item on this entire list, and it's the one most people skip because it feels boring. Before you invest a single dollar, you need money that is completely separate from your investments. Money that sits in a savings account. Money that is never touched unless something goes genuinely wrong. We're talking about 3 to 6 months of living expenses, rent, food, utilities, transportation. Whatever it costs you to live for 3 to 6 months, that amount needs to exist in cash before you invest anything. Here's why this matters so much. Think of it like a seatbelt. You don't wear a seatbelt because you plan to crash. You wear it because if something goes wrong, you want to be protected. Without an emergency fund, the moment life throws something unexpected at you, a medical bill, a job loss, a car repair, you will be forced to pull money out of your investments. And that moment, the moment you're forced to sell, is almost never a good time to sell. Markets go down, life gets expensive, panic sets in, and suddenly you're selling at a loss, not because you chose to, but because you had no other option. According to a Bankrate survey, 56% of Americans say they couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency from their savings alone. 56%. That means more than half of people investing right now are one unexpected bill away from being forced to liquidate. The emergency fund isn't exciting. It's not going to 10 times, but it is the foundation that makes everything else possible. If you have it, check the box. Move to sign 2. If you don't, this is your first goal. Full stop. Sign number 2. You have no high-interest debt. 325. This one surprises a lot of people because the common belief is, I'll invest and pay off my debt at the same time. And sometimes, for certain types of debt, that makes sense. A low-interest mortgage, a student loan at 3 or 4%. These don't necessarily need to be fully paid off before you invest. But here's the catch. High-interest debt, credit cards, personal loans above 8 or 9% changes the math completely. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a bucket with a hole in the bottom, and you're trying to fill it with water. You could invest, pour water in the top. But if the hole at the bottom, your high-interest debt, is draining faster than you're filling, the bucket never gets full. The average credit card in the US charges over 20% interest annually. The stock market historically returns about 7 to 10% annually. If you're paying 20% in interest and earning 10% in returns, you are losing 10% net every single year. Paying off that debt first is literally the best guaranteed return available to you. Not because investing is bad, but because the math of high-interest debt beats the math of investing every single time. The rule of thumb: Any debt above 7 or 8% interest, pay it off before you start investing seriously. If your high-interest debt is gone, check the box. If it's not, that's your next priority. Sign number 3. You have a stable and predictable income. 455. Investing works best when it's consistent, regular contributions, month after month, regardless of what the market is doing. But consistency requires predictability, and predictability requires a stable income. This doesn't mean you need a corporate job or a guaranteed salary for life. It means, do you know with reasonable confidence what money is coming in next month? If your income is highly irregular, freelance work that fluctuates wildly, a business in its earliest stage, investing becomes much harder to do responsibly. Think of it like watering a plant. A plant that gets water consistently, a little every day, grows steadily and becomes strong. A plant that gets flooded one week and nothing for the next 3 struggles to build real roots. Consistent, moderate watering builds stronger plants than irregular drenching. Your portfolio works the same way. This doesn't mean you can't invest if you're self-employed or have variable income. It means you need to be honest about whether you can commit to regular contributions without putting yourself in a difficult position. If your income is stable enough to invest consistently, check the box. If it's not yet, focus there first. Sign number 4. You can leave the money alone for at least 5 years. 610. Here's one of the most important and most ignored rules of investing. Only invest money you genuinely don't need for at least 5 years, ideally longer. Why 5 years? Because markets go up and markets go down, and the shorter your timeline, the higher the probability that you'll need to sell at exactly the wrong moment. Think of it like planting a mango tree. You don't plant a mango tree on Monday and expect fruit by Friday. Mango trees take years to establish roots, grow branches, and finally bear fruit. If you dig it up after 2 months because you're hungry, you don't just miss the fruit, you destroy the entire tree. The stock market works on a similar timeline. According to data from Vanguard, over any given 1-year period, the S&P 500 has produced a negative return roughly 26% of the time. Over any 5-year period, that number drops to around 14%. Over any 10-year period, historically, the S&P 500 has never produced a negative return over a full decade. Never. That's the power of time. But time only works for you if you actually give it to your investments. If your money can stay invested for 5 or more years, check the box. If you might need it sooner, keep it in savings, not stocks. Sign number 5. You understand what you're investing in. 725. This one might be the most underrated sign on this list. You don't need to be a financial expert to invest. You don't need to understand derivatives, option strategies, or how to read a balance sheet. But you do need to understand, at a basic level, what you're putting your money into. What is an index fund? What does it mean to own a share of a company? What is a bond, and why would you hold one? What happens to your money if the market drops 40%? If you can answer these questions, even in simple terms, you are far less likely to panic when things go wrong. Think of it like flying on a plane. Most passengers don't know how to fly a plane. That's fine, they don't need to. But passengers who understand the basics, turbulence is normal, it doesn't mean the plane is crashing, have a fundamentally different experience than passengers who have no idea what's happening and assume every bump means disaster. Understanding what you own doesn't guarantee better returns, but it almost always leads to better behavior, which, as we've covered in other videos, is where most returns are actually won or lost. If you understand the basics of what you plan to invest in, check the box. If you don't yet, that's what channels like this one are for. Sign number 6. You have a clear goal. 840. Here's a question most people never ask before they invest. Why am I investing? Not philosophically. Specifically, are you investing for retirement? For a house down payment in 10 years? For your children's education? For financial independence before 50? The goal matters enormously because it determines everything else. Your timeline, your asset allocation, how much risk you should take, how you should respond when markets drop. Think of it like getting in a car. If you know your destination, you can choose the right route, estimate how long it takes, and know when you've arrived. If you don't know your destination, you might drive for years, spend a fortune on fuel, and end up somewhere you never wanted to be. Investing without a goal is the same. You'll make decisions based on emotion and noise because you have no clear destination to orient your choices around. The goal doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be detailed. It just needs to exist. I want $500,000 by age 55, so I have the option to retire. That's a goal. It changes how you invest. If you have a clear investing goal, check the box. If you don't, take 10 minutes and write one down before you open a brokerage account. Sign number 7. You're ready to be bored. 950. And finally, the sign that separates people who build wealth through investing from people who just participate in the market without ever really benefiting from it. Are you ready to be bored? Real investing, the kind that actually builds wealth over decades, is profoundly, almost insultingly boring. You buy, you hold, you add more. You ignore the news. You ignore the tips. You check your portfolio once a year. You keep going. That's it. But here's the catch. Boring is hard, not because it requires effort, but because everything around you will be screaming for you to do something exciting. New hot stocks, market predictions, expert opinions, the next big thing, the crash that's definitely coming, the opportunity you'll regret missing. All of it, noise. Think of it like being on a long flight. The people who arrive at the destination calmly are the ones who settled in, put on a movie, maybe took a nap, and let the plane do its job. The people who arrive exhausted and frustrated are the ones who kept checking the flight map every 10 minutes, worrying about every cloud they flew through, and debating whether they should have taken a different airline. Same plane, same destination, completely different experience, because of how they chose to engage with the journey. According to research from Fidelity, a study of their best-performing accounts found that the top performers were accounts belonging to people who had either forgotten they had the account or had died. Not the most active traders, not the most sophisticated investors, the ones who did the least. If you're genuinely ready to invest and then mostly leave it alone, check the box. If you know you'll be checking every day and reacting to every move, work on that first. Let's put a real picture to all of this. Two people, both 28 years old, both want to invest. Person A checks all 7 boxes. Emergency fund, done. High-interest debt, cleared. Stable income, yes. 5-year timeline, absolutely. Understands the basics, yes. Has a clear goal, retirement at 60. Ready to be bored, completely. Person A opens a low-cost index fund account, contributes $300 a month, and doesn't touch it for 30 years. At 7% average annual return, Person A retires at 58 with approximately $340,000. Person B checks none of the boxes. No emergency fund, has credit card debt at 22%. Irregular income, might need the money in 18 months. Doesn't really understand what they're buying. No clear goal. Checks the portfolio every single day. Person B invests $300 a month too, but pulls out during the first big crash. Pays credit card interest that erases returns. Sells at the wrong time. Buys back at the wrong time. After 30 years of trying, Person B ends up with roughly $95,000. Same monthly investment, same market. Nearly a $250,000 difference, not from skill, not from luck, from simply being ready before starting. So, to wrap everything up, The 7 signs you're finally ready to start investing. 1. You have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. 2. You have no high-interest debt above 7 or 8%. 3. You have a stable and predictable income. 4. You can leave the money alone for at least 5 years. 5. You understand, at a basic level, what you're investing in. 6. You have a clear, specific investing goal. 7. You're genuinely ready to be bored and stay the course. Now, do you need to check every single box perfectly before you invest a single dollar? Not necessarily. Life is rarely that clean. Some people start investing while still paying off moderate debt, and that's okay. Some people start before their emergency fund is fully complete and manage fine. It depends on your specific situation, your income, your goals, your risk tolerance. But here's what I can tell you. The more of these boxes you can genuinely check, the better your experience as an investor will be, and the less likely you are to make the expensive mistakes that derail most people before they ever get started. This is not financial advice, just knowledge so you can make the best decision for yourself. If you found this helpful, hit the like button and consider subscribing. We break down concepts like this every single week in a simple way, so the path to financial independence feels a little less overwhelming and a lot more achievable. And if you're ready to take the next step, check out our video on how to build a portfolio from scratch. The perfect follow-up once you've checked these 7 boxes and you're ready to actually start. Thanks for watching, and see you very soon. Bye.